Welcome back to Third Coast Podcast. Hiding from the heat today, set up inside my house because it's been nice and warm out there, and I'm not going to sweat my friends off in the shed. But we are back today. Thank y'all for y'all's continued support. We rolling on. Kobai is on the boat in the Gulf right now, something like that. But show must go on, and hope everybody's doing good this week. Hope everything's going well for you. I hope all your joys and fantasies and dreams are coming true out there in the Third Coast Podcast community world. But this afternoon, I will be calling in Miss Victoria Banner from Canada. Yes, you heard that right, Canada. We're going to learn a little bit of information that a lot of us, especially me, did not know. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of information here in a minute, and then we're going to do our call-in interview. As you can see, I'm in a nice, comfortable chair for a change. The banner it's up there. Hopefully it don't follow me. It fell on me a couple times already, but if y'all ain't bought tickets yet, make sure y'all buy tickets to Fête the Void 2024. It's a whole bunch of great bands out there, vendors, art. It's a wonderful time right here in small town Oakdale, Louisiana. Wonderful place. It really is. Y'all should come check it out. Come see us. We got, seven or eight interviews now lined up. Got some food vendors. We got some of the artists, some of the bands, and a couple of people y'all have heard on the mic, but hopefully we get a little bit longer because we are in the process of building the Third Coast Podcast studio, and we're going to have AC so we don't have to worry about like last week when the video cut out at like 30 minutes, and that was all due because of the heat. Overheated the camera, which is a problem we've ran into a few times, especially here recently and, well, during the summer months this year now and last year. So we're trying to mitigate that by having a nice AC spot to record like I do this afternoon. But let's get in some information right quick. What is Canada Day? Originally called Dominion Day, Canada Day is the national day for Canada, commemorating the unification of three North American British colonies into one confederation: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and the province of Canada. Modern day Quebec and other places. The creation of Canada Day. On July 1st, 1867, British North American Act, known today as the Constitution Act of 1867, created Canada, formally joining several colonies into one single unified independent dominion of Canada. Essentially, Canada became a self-governing dominion within the British Empire. And that's interesting, and I can't wait to ask Victoria about some of that stuff because it's like right next to our Independence Day, which is crazy. Dominion Day was officially renamed Canada Day. Many felt that Dominion Day was a colonial era type of name. In addition, 1982 brought about the Canada Constitution, which officially removed any UK authority. Yeah, where's the applause button on that? No, us Americans know a little bit about, getting away from the UK, throwing some tea in the harbor, you know what I'm saying? And established the final steps in completing Canada's sovereignty as an independent country. Many Americans, like myself, actually asked if Canada Day is similar to Independence Day in the United States. They are similar and both are related to gaining independence from the United Kingdom. Fuck y'all. Many Americans asked my bad, I lost where I was. For Canada, however, Canada Day marks only one milestone on the path to full independence. It took many more years for Canada to gain complete solid. Oh, I can't fucking speak. I'm gonna have to edit that one out. But it took a while for them to get everything passed, and with the passing of the Westminster in 1931 and the final passing of the Constitution Act in 1982, which was only 42 years ago. So it's only been 42 years since they've been officially Canada. Similar to the 4th of July, Canada Day is celebrated widely with firework displays, concerts, barbecues, patriotic parades, and celebratory festivals. The Canadian flag flies high across the country. Many people paint their faces red and white, which are Canada's national colors. Sorry, guys. I don't know why. Maybe the heat from today's work out there. It was 120 where I worked at, so my brain might not be working on all cylinders right now, and I do apologize for that. And there are often citizenship ceremonies as well. Man, that's cool. Canada. But we are calling in Miss Victoria Banner and to see what she's been up to. So let's see if we can get this ball on the roll. Oh, got a little static going on.
Getting a call from Louisiana. That's what my phone says. It says the whole state is calling. All of Louisiana is calling me right now.
Just one person this afternoon.
Oh, dang it. Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. And yourself?
Good, good. Who am I chatting? Am I chatting with Joe or Jacoby?
You're talking to Joe.
Awesome. How are you, Joe?
Oh, I'm good. Good. Always good.
Do I have to call you Gator? Should I call you Gator because you're the host and you're doing your show?
You can. I mean, you can call me Joe. It doesn't matter. That's just a handle that I've been trying to push for a while.
Nicknames never work when you want to do them yourself. I grew up with a girl, and she wanted to be called Pineapple so badly that she literally got a pineapple tattooed to herself. And then later, she realized that was just a universal sign for, like, swingers. And so, like, at that point, she'd been pushing the name for so long and had the tattoo that you might as well become a swinger.
So is she currently a swinger?
I have no idea. I just remembered it was very silly. She was trying to make her own nickname happen.
Oh, well, hopefully my nickname sticks. I'm not a swinging gator, so that's a good thing. So how you been?
Good, good. I'm back up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but really missing the southern United States. So.
And, I wanted to ask you right off the bat, how is it that you made it all the way down to New Orleans for Hell Yes Fest when you were all the way in Canada? How did that transpire?
I met the owner of the New Orleans House of Comedy at a music festival in 2014. And there was like a big comedy push in 2014 to try and add comedy to music festivals that were like really like high budget. Everyone wanted to be like Sasquatch, or Coachella had like a comedy aspect at some point. And now that market's been kind of taken over by the Netflix is a Joke Fest. But at one point, you would get a show where you would have like Kendrick Lamar and like a top tier famous stand-up comedian at the same time. And I got really into music festivals. I got really into music festivals that had comedy on them. And so Chris True, owner of Comedy House New Orleans, was hosting a comedy stage at a music festival up in Canada. And that music festival doesn't exist anymore. It's called Pemberton. And you got to drive all the way out into the mountains. It was this beautiful mountain town in the Rocky Mountains. And then you just got to do every drug under the sun. And then last, it was like, oh, who was there? Like TJ Miller and Kendrick Lamar. And it was 2014, so every one of those 2014 top 40 bands that no one remembers, like Foster the People or Ed Sharp and the Magnetic Zeros. So, yeah.
So Kendrick Lamar, that's an interesting name to bring up for a Canadian. So,
Yeah, you'd think I would be on the Drake team. You think I'd be on the Drake team, but I've been hating Drake since day one. He used
Thank
to,
you.
back when he was.
I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, he was famous in Canada on like a TV show called Degrassi, and people know that he used to be on that, but it was like a Canadian staple, and so it was quite weird when he was shedding that bit of celebrity, and then he was turning into Drake. And when I was like 18 years old, I actually saw Drake like before he was like famous, but when he was still trying to make his rap career happen. We were at a nightclub, and they kept teasing this like secret guest. They were like, "It's going to be a secret guest. It's going to be a secret guest." And then they were like, "Here comes your secret guest." And they were like, "It's Drake!" But there was like no name recognition as to who the heck Drake was or what he was doing. And it was like a nice club and a nice vibe. And they come and they turn on like all the lights. So now it's just like broad daylight and everyone's been day drinking. We're all like looking at each other in the light. And then Drake comes out. And it was a drum and bass show. He cuts the drum and bass music, and then he just starts freestyle rapping very poorly in broad daylight to a bunch of like sweaty people that were like, "We were really wanting to do drum and bass right now, but I guess you can have a turn with the microphone, Drake." And so a lot of people went out to smoke during Drake's free set. And so when he says he started from the bottom, I was at the bottom at the Back Alley nightclub in Calgary, Canada.
Wow. Well, it's nice to hear that someone else don't like Drake, and it's interesting too for how he came up and how you look at him as a negative light, and that's how I kind of look at him too. Because you come from Degrassi, you can't go from getting shot in the back, getting put in a wheelchair on a teen drama show to being a hardcore gangster rapper. It just does not work for me.
Yeah, the image doesn't work well, and you can't, there's no hardcore, you didn't learn any lessons, you're a theater kid, you started as a theater kid, you ended a theater kid, and trying to get that cred, yes and no. But I guess, like, I know a person who I would say has, like, hardcore gangster rapper cred, and then I actually talked to him a bit about his career, and he went to university for poetry, so it is a persona, but not one that Drake's pulling off very well.
I feel that. So how was your show last night?
The show last night that we did, I did one on Sunday, and then yesterday, what did I do? I was just at a barbecue yesterday, but Sunday I run a show in downtown Calgary, and it's a long weekend because we were celebrating Canada Day. And when we have a long weekend show, I don't have to do any selling whatsoever. I don't have to buy any Instagram advertisements. I don't have to buy any Facebook advertisements. We just go long weekend. We got cheap beers, and then the whole place packs out. And I was able to put on 7 comics, and we didn't have any weirdos, and we didn't have anyone that I was trying to buy favor with that wasn't talented. We just had like 10 comedians who'd been in the game for 10 years, and they were so funny. And the crowd was so drunk. It was probably one of the most perfect gigs I've done in, I'd say, 2.5 years, probably. Like, I do lots of gigs, and lots of them are awesome and great, but sometimes you just have a show where, like, nothing bad happens, and that was the show on Sunday. Just nothing bad.
So you hosted that whole event on Sunday?
Yeah, the last one. And then you were talking about Canada Day, and that's just seriously like it's like our 4th of July. So that was just like a kind of in general celebration where we were just like launching fireworks into the air and ignoring the fact that we committed genocide against Indigenous people and trying to eat burgers and wear orange shirts and feel guilty but also feel nationalistic pride about living in Canada at the same time. It's a delicate balance, but at the end of the day, there's fireworks.
Yeah.
Not as good as you, because they restrict firearms and fireworks up here, so we don't get as much access to fireworks. We have to go way out of the country if we want to blow our fingers off.
So y'all only have access to fireworks on Canada Day?
No, it's kind of like the major cities. You can't buy fireworks in the major cities. And then even the small towns, you can't really buy fireworks, and you can't really, like, light them up and send them off. So you have to go to, like, rural gas stations, like, maybe, like, 3 hours away from a major city to buy fireworks. And it's kind of like per little area. So you buy fireworks there. And then you're definitely not allowed to set them off in, like, I know you can't set them off in my city anywhere. And so it's definitely just mostly a fun crime activity to do, is to just light off fireworks randomly, but no one's uncle would actually like sit down and make a fireworks show for them as a kid.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Mostly
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, it's only really skate punks in Calgary that have fireworks. They usually just have a firework in their pocket, light it, and then are prepared to run from the cops.
Ah, I didn't know that fireworks were basically illegal up there.
Yeah, they are, but then it's kind of like other people have differences, because it's like fireworks shouldn't be illegal, but they kind of are. So when you go to Vancouver in Halloween, it's a city out on the coast, there's a lot of people that have immigrated from Asian countries, and they love their fireworks there. So Vancouver on Halloween, even though it's illegal to light fireworks in the city, everyone legally lights fireworks at the same time. So the cops can't catch everyone, and so you get fireworks there. And then lately that's been spilling over into other Canadian cities, because people are just kind of mad at the government, just no one's happy with how things are being run, and so people are just doing little things where they're like, I don't care about the law anymore until we can. So yeah, but no nice law-abiding family is going to set up a fireworks show in Calgary.
Oh, that kind of is a bummer, because I'm popping fireworks. When's that? Day after tomorrow, Thursday.
Exactly. There you go. Who does? Okay. Now here's my question for you, because you're asking questions. Okay, who gets to kind of come up with the fireworks display? If you're like American, because like are you about like 30 years old?
Yeah, a little older than that, about 34.
Okay, 34, but that's 34. But that means that you still have a dad, right, who's got the reins on the family, and the dad used to be in the guy that's doing the fireworks. And maybe your dad has a dad, like a grandpa, who's like used to doing the fireworks. And then you're 30, right? So you kind of want to do the fireworks, but then you might have like a nephew who's 18 and he maybe wants to do the fireworks. So like, how do you grapple with all of the men in a American fireworks family on which guy is the manly guy that's going to light the fireworks for everyone else?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak on my personal side. If I buy fireworks, I'm popping the most expensive ones, because if you get the mortar rounds, and some of them packages are like $100, $150, $200, $300. So typically I pop the bigger ones, and then the smaller ones, like Roman candles, the fountains and stuff like that, I let the Bambinos pop. But you,
okay. It's like a price thing. And everyone defaults by price, because no one wants to lose any money accidentally busting up a firework.
And a lot of people, too, flex with that. They'll spend hundreds of dollars just while they have the best fireworks show right down the road, Yeah,
I thought there was kind of a competitive aspect, because I always watch The Simpsons, and I know that Homer's always blowing himself up, and so I could tell that everyone wants to have the best fireworks show, but I didn't know there was a financial aspect. I didn't know that they cost so much.
Yeah, they're real expensive, especially, I'm pretty sure everything's been going up around y'all's area too, but the last few years fireworks are almost tripled in price. It's easy to spend $300-$400 easy, and that's for maybe an hour and a half of entertainment if you're lucky.
That's so wild. See, now you know what I need to check is I want to see if fireworks have gotten expensive in Canada, because no one buys fireworks in Canada. So I'm curious if, like, the powers that be maybe forgot to raise the prices of fireworks in Canada, or if they have gotten expensive. I'm going to do an experiment with the economy. I'm going to drive 3 hours from here and try to buy a firework and see if it's the same price. Because here's what I think. I think the people that sell fireworks in, like, 3 hours away from a major city in Canada, I don't think they have access to the internet or the economy or anything like that, right? And so I think people are buying fireworks at the exact same rate in a small town in rural Canada as they would have been like 5 years ago. So like, how would the shop owner know when it's time to raise the price on fireworks? So I'm going to go do an inflation investigation, and I'll report back.
Oh, yeah, definitely gotta know that information. So if
I crack the code that they're falsely inflating the price of fireworks in the United States of America, I will contact a journalist, and I think that will start the Civil War.
Hey, it might. You never know. So you said y'all were barbecuing yesterday? That's kind of what a lot of people do around here on the 4th of July is barbecue. What is a Canadian barbecue?
Oh, pretty much the exact same as an American barbecue, which is we were just hanging out in our friend's backyard. One of our friends was flipping burgers. I was hanging out with a lot of my friends that I do drag shows with, so we were. Not every Canadian barbecue is full of drag queens, but the one that I was at was definitely full of a lot of drag queens. And there's a fire ban on right now, unfortunately, because it's super dry, and they're worried about wildfires in my area. So the government will give you a $5,000 fine if you have a fire in your backyard. So that makes camping really suck.
Yeah, that takes some of the fun away. What's the temperature like up there right now?
I guess about 30 degrees. Oh, I'm going to say it in Celsius. 30 degrees Celsius. Not fry an egg on a sidewalk kind of temperatures. It's comfortably wear shorts and t-shirt temperature, and you only get a sunburn if you're outside without sunscreen for an hour and a half.
Oh, you come down here right now in Louisiana, you're going to get baked like a chicken. It is hot. It was, where I was at work today, it was 120 degrees where I was working at. Yeah, you got.
Oh, please tell me you work somewhere with air conditioning.
No, I work in the Louisiana heat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
I get a big fan though.
Sorry.
I get a big fan that blows hot air on me. You gotta do what you gotta do to pay bills. I can't complain. I got a decent house and got money in my pocket sometimes, so it's good to make sweat a little bit though.
Yeah, exactly. I have no heat tolerance whatsoever, and I was getting a little toasty when I was there in November. I was like, and a few of other of my friends, like one of my friends from Seattle was there in November. We were walking around, and we were like, and this is where I max out for heat.
Ooh, man, and it was like in the 80, maybe the 80s, maybe the 70s too. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So it definitely gets like scorching hot up here on summer days, but it's not guaranteed every single day, and it only happens in July and August, and then maybe a little bit into September. It sucks though, because my apartment building has an outdoor pool, and it's closed except for the last week of July and the first month of August, and that's the only time I get to use a pool that I'm paying for year round.
Well, that makes no sense. They should deduct it in the months you don't use it, or not. You're not able to access it.
Imagine if a landlord did that. Imagine if a landlord just looked and they were like, well, if you're not using the pool for these months, I guess I'll give you a discount on your rent. Have you ever successfully got a discount on rent?
No, I've been lucky to get deposits back. Even though the house is perfectly fine, they'll be like, oh, well, there's a light bulb missing, so we can't give you back your $800 deposit. I've had that happen before.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a classic. They try it with young people. Like, definitely, like, if you're a teenager and it's your first rental house, they always try it. But the more of an adult you get, the more they get a little afraid, because you can do, like, adult retributions. And so I had a landlord try and do that to me maybe when I, like, moved around when I was 28. And there was just a kind of thing to be like, I will, because, like, I work at an office, and it was kind of this, like, eye contact thing of, I will put you under so much paperwork that the amount of labor spent doing your paperwork will equal to that of a $75,000 a year job. So would you like to have this $800 from me because you're looking at this light bulb? Or would you like to be signing documents until you're dead? Like,
bury them in paperwork.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of when landlords leave you alone, is once they know that you know how to take all the legal channels, and then you have enough money you have enough time to just waste their time.
Silver court, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way, like, especially around here, it's so backed up, the court systems, you looking at a year and a half. So the landlord don't have, I mean, you got a lot of legal leeway when it comes to that stuff too. A lot of people don't know that. That's a great point to bring up. Listeners out there, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you know your rental agreements. Make sure that you know the laws because you do have rights as a renter.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, but we have the backed up court system too, because you have rights as a renter, but they have rights as a landlord, and then everyone just has to take a whole year to get it all sorted out, and no one wants to pay for money to get it potentially sorted out, especially when it's like small claims. So when I say that, like, this goes back to our fireworks conversation, where everyone's just doing crimes where they know that no one's going to wait around a year to go to court over it. And so you're like, hey, did you launch a firework 5 years ago? Maybe. Are you sorry about? Maybe. So, yeah. No such thing as laws these days.
That's kind of like New Orleans. New Orleans has backlogged, let me see, what was it, 50 or 500,000 arrest warrants for people that get in trouble in New Orleans and just never come back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That, that was a vibe that I definitely got while walking around the city. And I even said it out loud to the same friend from Seattle. I said, this is a place you go to escape. This is a place you go to change your identity, and you go to escape here, and you come here to disappear. And that was one of the vibes I definitely got from the city.
Yeah, so
if you're in Canada and you've got two families, like you're doing the like cheating on your wife, but then you accidentally have like a whole second family and two kids, and you accidentally marry your mistress, and then you're like, oh no, I got two wives and two kids. You would disappear, and then you would turn up in New Orleans like like 10 years later.
yeah, it's definitely one of them places you can definitely get lost in.
Can't
So,
get lost in my city. My city is it's a city of 1 million people, and 1 million is such a weird number because we have all of the things that you would think to have in a city. Like we've got a stadium, we've got an NHL team, we've got a football team, we've got lots of stuff like anything you would think you could have in a city. But then it's 1 million people, so it's got that small town feel where if you fuck up, you will see that person for the rest of your life just in town, being like, oh, there's the person who did the crazy thing one time.
so in Canada, is a lot of the cities compact, and then it's like big city then rural cities, or is it like a whole bunch of little rural cities outlining the big city?
Uh, it's just low population across the board. Everywhere in Canada has just a very low population, and we don't have very many major cities. So we got like 10 provinces, and then one city or one major city per province. So we only really have 10 cities that have populations of over 1 million people, with Toronto and Vancouver being the biggest, but nowhere near as big as like Chicago or New York. And then around, we've kind of got the suburbs, and the closest, like our suburb areas are a little bit like Chicago suburb areas, where they kind of have that little town feel or whatever, and they all kind of keep to themselves, but they're right on the outskirts of Chicago. So for Calgary, we've got my city, which is like 1 million people, but then it just touches like on another little town called Airdrie. And if you lived in Airdrie, you might as well just say you lived in Calgary.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so that's like because I know you're not. I know you're in like a rural town in Louisiana, and you're like 3 hours away from New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
I think you said you're like 3 hours away from New Orleans. So for like, if you're 3 hours away from the nearest city in Canada, and it's like a small town, you would just say that you live in that major city. Maybe not 3 hours, maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
So if you're an hour and a half drive out of Calgary, you would probably still say you live in Calgary, even though you don't like legally live in Calgary. It just makes it easy for everyone to know where you're going to your Walmart.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we live right dab in the middle of Louisiana. So biggest cities closest to us is like Lafayette, which is about an hour and 15. Alexandria is like 45. Then you got like New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Natchitoches, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't say I'm from like Lafayette, even though I live in Oakdale. So that's different though. I like that though. It gives a different dynamic and way of thinking.
Yeah, what's the population of Lafayette?
Oh, I would be lying if I told you. It ain't that, it's pretty big. I know our population where I live at is like 75,000 people in my town of
Oh,
Oakdale.
cool. See,
But
that's what I think is really cool about the state. Is there's a lot of cities that I'm not aware of, but that would have enough of a population that you could kind of do cool stuff. Because like, I like promoting events and I like performing on shows and I like doing comedy. So I don't want to move to too small of a town where I can't perform live, right? You don't want to be in a rock band for a town of like 5,000 people because they're like, we've seen you, we know all your songs.
yeah,
But I like that the state is covered with like lots of little towns that I wouldn't even know of, but they all have like a population that's high enough as almost like a major town in Canada, and it's just places that I've never even heard of. So it's cool to imagine all of the fun and I don't know, just concerts and bands and partying that people get up to in places that I don't know about. That's what I think about. Just small parties in cool places.
yeah, we got a small party coming up here in October, from October the 3rd to the 5th. We are going to be a part of a music festival called Fête the Void here in Oakdale, which features bands from all around the United States that comes in, and we've been a part of it for about 3 or 4 years now, and real excited for it again this year. Chris Drew came out and hosted a comedy set out there last year.
Oh, cool. That's exactly the type of festival that I met him at 10 years ago. So that's super. Is it like a camping festival?
Yes.
Like, what's the theme? Oh, God. See, you always got to have a place where you can just get like really far away from society and camp at, but then also bring like really good acts. Like, that's my favorite type of festival.
That's exactly what it is. That's it in a nutshell. It's 3 days of nonstop music, comedy, arts, food, and it's camping. You can bring tents or you can bring RVs. They got a whole bunch of areas for like camping, and then with the festival too, we try to get to generate local income. So when people come in and they're making posts about it, we want everybody to shop local too to support our local economy within this event too.
That's so cool. I've got two friends up in Calgary, Taylor and Laura. They're in a band called 36 ? And it's like the number 36 written with a question mark. It's so hard to describe. You could just look it up on your phone. But they've got a visa to go tour down to the United States, and they tour around in a van, and they go to every little small town kind of festival. So I'm gonna tell them about that. So if you hear of two weird art rock weirdos that seem just about as weird as me, and they're really wanting to play that festival, and they're from Calgary, Canada, if you hear about that, or if you have any friends who are organizers, that's my friends, and they'll probably want to do it.
Well, you definitely got to send the info, and I put them in the right ears for sure. I know the guy that runs it.
Perfect. Because I know it's the guy that runs it. He's probably like, man, I have a limited amount of budget, but I want to have acts from all over. And so I'm really good at finding acts that would go down to Louisiana for a sandwich. Not to undervalue my friends or anything like that, but my friends like a good time and they like a camping festival. So they would be like, oh yeah, we'll just come down with the band. Bring over the other art rock.
Is it like the traveling aspect too that they enjoy too? Not necessarily, making the money, but just going out and coming to the United States and going to different parts that you might not even think of?
Yeah, they don't really think of the money. They're definitely much more of van life people, but they do have a pretty good online presence, and they did spend a lot of their 20s making really good albums. And so for them, it is about trying to just chain together as many gigs as possible. So instead of trying to be famous in like Los Angeles or New York, it's more fun for them to just make sure that they've got a really nice show to play live. like
Yeah.
every single night of the week so that they can camp in their van, go to the next town, camp in their van, go to the next town. So sometimes when you're traveling that way, like I've toured that way as a comedian before, it's so valuable to have that knowledge of people who are cool. Cause like, I like remember when we were talking, I was surprised that you were so cool. I was like, man, this guy's awesome. He likes wrestling. He likes listens to the party. He's got podcasts. And I just didn't know that there was like I obviously on some level, I know that there's cool people to hang out with in every small town, but you can't quite find those people by looking at a map. So you kind of needed the connection to say, oh, well, this is a place that does good concerts, and here it's located here on this map. Because when you're building a road trip, you're not really quite taking like the interstate or the highway. You're kind of taking small town to small town, and you're trying to tour from like cool art bar to venue. And so you need that knowledge from just, I don't know, other weirdos that can basically tell you where the party's at, and you build a road trip that way, and you can kind of make like a very fun vacation for yourself, but also a very rewarding experience for yourself as an artist. I think that's what Chris True does.
Yeah, Chris is all over the place.
Yeah, he loves the travel aspect of it too, and he likes to find a good time, and he likes to find a party and an adventure. And yeah, my friends that travel around in a van, they do it very similar to that way. I did that from 2014 to 2017, and I really enjoyed trying to just chain together as many gigs as possible and try and be a quote-unquote full-time artist. But I am a very sleepy lady, and I like crafts too much. I do comedy, but I also do a lot of visual art. So for me, I need a big home space where I can just put a bunch of art supplies all over the floor, and then I can just get to coloring and crafting and making various things. So it's not as rewarding for me to travel around and do only performance art if I don't have time to like hide in my little visual art cave.
And so visual art, so you're a painter or just...
Yeah, painter. I'm a good painter. I've got a thing in graphic design. I went to school for graphic design, and I like doing lots of different projects. So sometimes I'll sew things for costumes. Like if you know when you see people at those festivals and they've got really fun costumes, like I'll sew costumes all day, any day. One of my favorite activities right now is buying stuff from thrift stores and then repainting them in kind of like a laser tag carpet or like bowling alley carpet color scheme. So I'll get as many bright colors as I can possibly get, and then I'll just basically like repaint just random shit I get at thrift stores, and that's really fun for me. And then yeah, whatever needs arting, I'm pretty good at usually making it work and figuring out how to do something. At one point I was like airbrushing skateboards, which was cool, but you can't really airbrush in an apartment because you need some ventilation for that.
Yeah.
Girl huffs a lot of paint, so.
You're like, oh, well, this is looking good. Oh, I'm getting sleepy all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, the less ventilation you have, the better artist you are. And then you sober up and you're like, that was actually a very bad painting.
I wish I could get you down here to do some artwork on our podcast studio. We're about to be moving into a area, and we got a blank canvas that we're trying to figure out, like the walls. It's like 4 walls, and they're all like that brown wood color, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with it to make it pop more.
Cool. That's really fun. Yeah, that would be really neat. I honestly, if you ask me after the podcast, I can give you some quick and easy tips that I know a lot of other kind of festival people have used to make fast decorations that like look really visual. Have you ever seen people do like they wrap a traffic cone in tape and then they spray paint the tape and then they pull the tape off the traffic cone, and then you've got like a bunch of very colorful kind of triangle stalactite things?
Huh. No, I haven't, but it sounds very interesting though.
It's a very, very quick decoration that's very common at it came from rave culture. And so if you need to decorate a room really fast and you have no budget, go buy some like postal tape, and yeah, you wrap it around a traffic cone. Like you spray cooking oil on the traffic cone so that the tape doesn't stick. and then you wrap the tape around traffic cone, and then you spray paint, and then you pull it off, and then you've got a traffic cone-sized triangle, and then you can staple those together, and they're very light, and so you can make lots of like visual installations that take up lots of space and look like they were very expensive to make. Like you can make those on the fly if you and your friends are just like smoking a bit of weed and all of you bang out about 4 of them, then you got 20 of them, and you're like, cool, now I made an art that we can dance around.
Shit, yeah. I'm definitely definitely need all the help I can get. So
I'm sure all your friends. You should have a party. You should seriously like host a launch party, and then you should say, "Hey, everybody, like come with a bucket of paint or come with an art supply and help us decorate the studio," and then just see what all your creative friends come up with, because that would be quite the vibe for sure.
that's a good ass idea, because I do know a few people around here that are very handy with the arts and crafts for sure. And that's one
Yeah,
that's one of the big things too, is like when the festival, the music and the art always just mix so well with each other, and it's always cool to see everybody's different perspective of what art is and all the different levels of art that there really are in the world.
yeah, that's what's so cool, and I think that's so powerful too. Is we live in a world where everything has to go on Facebook, everything has to be like, oh, I'm better than you. Like we're in a very, very, very competitive society, and I think people lose track of how competitive you can be with an original idea. Like people are always like, oh, I gotta make the same thing as this guy but better. I gotta make the same thing as this guy but better. But if you throw down with a piece of art that no one else has made, and you can be competitively non-competitive, and everyone can be as competitively non-competitive as they want through originality and just like appreciating that everyone can literally do something different and it's all awesome, but some of it is better and some of it is worse than others. And I don't know, that's my favorite thing to say, is you never know what you've seen until you've seen it.
Yeah. I like that. It's hard, I guess in this day and age, it's hard to be completely original now. Sometimes it feels like maybe all of it's already been done before. Sometimes I feel like, when I'm doing stuff, like, am I just doing something that someone else has already done? How do I make this unique, So I definitely feel that. But it comes hand in hand too, because you gotta, like with the podcast, yeah, we're decent at it, but I do respect the people that are professionals at it, that are really, really good at it, who spend all the tons of money it costs for the great equipment and the different video cameras and stuff like that. So appreciating someone else's art, even though you're doing the same art, appreciating their good art is a humbling aspect that a lot of people need to have.
I know what you're saying, and then you're also saying like their art is good because they're not working in the Louisiana heat in a van with no air conditioning all day, so they've got nothing but time to kind of crank that out. So you got to look at the time aspect that people have. But I also do appreciate a very high quality piece of art because I haven't done anything at the same capacity as a famous, well-funded, fully backed artist, you know what I mean? But yeah. That person creates the glamour so that people can appreciate what you're doing on a small scale. So let's just like pick a band or something like that. I don't know, well, just because we've already brought him up, because I don't know your music taste, we'll go with Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar is 24/7, able to dedicate to rap, able to dedicate to performance. He's got the money, he's got the time, he's got the talent. And so he elevates the art form to such a high level of respect and awesomeness that it's almost like a trickle-down economics thing, that if you're a little bit good at rap and you're just like a little hobby rapper or something like that, people are like, wow, that's so awesome. You're so talented, because they're thinking about like what Kendrick Lamar does when he has like all this time, and he's up at the top garnering the respect for the art form, and then you're down at the bottom in it for the love of the game. And I think those people are valuable.
Yeah. Very well spoken. Very well spoken. I feel that. Because if it wasn't for the top tier people, Who would you? Is like idolize and stuff like that.
Yeah. It wouldn't be fun. That makes it part of the game. And so when you're in it for the love of the game, the fact that there is kind of that goal, like that's the game part of the game. And so I, as a comedian, as an artist, sometimes I want to be very competitive and I want to get to that next level and I want to get that next level of validation. And then sometimes I make things that are like just for me. And I go, that's just for me and no one needs to see it. And I will never get famous off of this because it's going to be very bad and no one would have a good time. So I like to do like a one for me, one for trying to advance my career in anything I do, whether it's comedy or whether it's art.
Shit, yeah. So, do you have any upcoming dates? Any upcoming shows or events that you're going to be a part of?
I like to take the summer off because I live in Calgary and it gets very, very cold during the winter. And so everything sells very well when it's dark and cold outside, but it's literally impossible to get Canadians in a like cold part of Canada, like Calgary. You can't get people inside to watch anything. You can't get them inside to watch a band. Can't get them inside to watch comedy. Everyone wants to be sitting with their sunglasses, drinking on a patio, because they only get 2 months of sitting in their sunglasses, drinking on a patio. And so everything has to be outside. And I also want to be outside. I'm like, I don't want to spend any time in a venue setting up a light or trying to fiddle with a soundboard. I would like to also be outside as much as possible. So I'm not doing anything right now, but I was just thinking of, actually, you know what? I lied. I have one outdoor gig that I'm producing. I'm going to be doing a show at an outdoor patio on a brewery where myself and some comedians, we're going to take some karaoke tracks and we're going to rewrite the lyrics kind of like Weird Al style. And we're going to call it Broken Jukebox. And so everyone's going to write a different funny song to an existing song. And we're all going to showcase them August 1st on a nice patio at a brewery.
Oh, shit, yeah, that sounds like a great time. I always like a good parody.
I'm very excited. Yeah, a good parody song, but then having like 10 people like just want to see how 10 people interpret the assignment of just write a good parody song. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one.
I never even thought to think about how cold it gets up there.
Oh yeah, 100%. It hurts your face, dangerous. Like a lot of because like the economy's bad right now, and the economy keeps getting worse. So a lot of people are losing their homes, and it gets like fatally cold outside to the point where it's like if you're outside for 2 hours, you might die. And so how do you let someone be homeless at the same time where if you're outside for 2 hours, you might die? And so that causes a lot of ethical questions for people and lots of just strife. But that's how it be.
Yeah, I feel that. I've always wondered and pondered why someone can have millions and millions and millions of dollars, giant ranches, condos, big mansions, but yet there's hundreds of thousands of people sleeping on the streets in America. No kickback. Yeah. It's quite a sink or swim. And then when you see the fact that like it is life or death when it's minus 40 outside, like it's minus 40 degrees Celsius outside, and then you see people sleeping out on the street. And then you can see like an empty office building that's like for lease. And they're like, we hope that someone starts a major company in here, but it's not right now. And you're like, they're leaving the heat on in this empty office building. There's like there's so much inside. Like there's unlimited amounts of inside on this planet. And good Lord, do we as humans love to put people outside and not have them survive the night. So yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little scary, but anytime someone has like a good idea on like anytime like a not-for-profit has a good idea on how to at least get people inside and sheltered during these times, it usually gets a lot of traction. I've actually been kind of impressed lately. There's been a
big rise in the homeless population and back to just doing whatever crime you feel like. A lot of the younger homeless people in Calgary lately have just been lighting fires on the street. And I haven't seen lighting fires on the street since, like, New York in the 70s movies. You know how they always have, like, burning barrels in the middle of the street in New York in the 70s? I was like, cool, we're getting burning barrels in the street now? That's so, like, we're in the future now. I love street fires. I love downtown urban street fires. That's a good, you know what I mean? So I'm happy that the amount of give a fuck has dropped to low enough that at least homeless people can keep themselves alive in the winter.
I know we usually don't talk political stuff, but I seen y'all's current president. Is it president or prime minister? Or he's been in office since 2015.
Yeah, prime minister. Yeah,
that's a long time.
Beg your pardon? Yes, I don't pay very much attention that everyone's pretty tired of him. He was voted in 2014, and the values of the world have changed a lot since 2014.
Yeah,
the world has moved on, and so I voted for him in 2014 when I was 24 years old. I'm now 34 years old. And when I was 24, things I cared about, cool shades, cool sunglasses. And I was like, man, that guy's got cool shades. I'm going to vote for him. And now I'm like, get out of the office. We hate you. You suck. Yep. And like everyone, like the right, our version of Republicans, they hated him from the beginning. They were like, we hate this guy. We're like, yeah, we know you're Republican. But now, across the board, because same as Joe Biden, across the board, everyone's like, this is just bad. Like, everything is bad. Nothing's good. Nothing's getting solved. Yep. And so it's no longer as punk rock for the Republicans who hated him original. Like, it's almost like a hipster. They're like, we hated him first. And we're like, yeah, and now we hate him too. And they're like, no, we want to hate him more. And we're like, we also hate him. So unifying the country with just a great disdain for the lack of leadership.
They don't hold. How does that election process work? Is it like every 10 years or something, or is it like whenever he's just done?
Yes, I think that you can run indefinitely because we have a multi-party system. So you can, because like I think you guys just have Republic. I'm not the best about the differences on a federal. I care a lot about local politics, but I don't actually care a lot about federal politics. So I believe that the difference and the reason why you have like limited terms is because you guys have two parties and you can't start a new party, right?
We have two parties, and then you can start a new party, but the Democrats and the Republicans always outweigh it. So a lot of time, like you have libertarians who are a big party, but they don't. When it comes down to the nut cutting, lack of the better term of word, but like most people are going to. Most of the United States population is going to vote either Democrat or Republican. So all the other little parties that try to form are just. It's still there, and they're still represented, but they usually lose. They can't never achieve beating a Democrat or a Republican. I was just curious.
Okay, well, that's the same. Yeah, that's the same as us, but ours actually sometimes get traction. So our left is split into two, and our right is pretty much one. Actually, you know what? Our right is we've got a normal right party, and then we have a French-speaking right party, and people. There's a lot of French speakers in Quebec that really want the French-speaking right-wing party, and they're very unified, but not enough to govern the rest of the country where no one else speaks French.
Do you speak French?
No, and it's because I'm from what I would describe as the Texas of Canada. Like, I'm in the most conservative province of Canada, and so everyone here, we all think we're cowboys. We all think we're like oil and gas men. We all like, so they legally want us to speak French, and they make us take French in school, and our cereal boxes have English and French on them, but I cannot speak French at all. At all. And then, but like one province over, I've like got a new boyfriend from like the East Coast, and like he's an English speaker, but they actually like make you learn French in school as opposed to pretending to make you learn French in school. So he's not a French speaker, but he can actually speak French because they did a better job educating him.
Yeah, oddly enough, from Louisiana, Cajun French is really popular, but they teach in school Spanish. So I'm pretty well. I learned a little bit in school, but my previous job when I worked at a nursery, a plant nursery, I picked up a lot of Spanish, a lot of inappropriate Spanish too, mainly.
Street slang.
Yeah, enough
Yeah.
to get to the bathroom, get something to eat, and curse you out, basically.
Yeah, I wish because like there's a lot more Spanish-speaking countries in the world I would like to visit. I don't really feel like visiting any of the French-speaking countries because we're one of them and France is the other one, and I am not in the mood to go to France. So like, why would I learn the language? I much rather would have wished I could learn Spanish or something. Would have been nice.
I had one of my buddies went to France and he spoke Cajun French, and they looked at him crazy when he was speaking French to him because it's a whole different type of French.
Canadian is the same. I know that there's something about the fact that it was like, because isn't it like Canadians, Acadians, Cajuns, or something like that? Like your French people came from Canada, but I can't remember what the whole story was because
Yeah,
I was
something like
drunk
that.
during the walking tour. I was drunk during the New Orleans walking tour, so I didn't remember. But they were like, "It's like Canada," and I'm like, "Nah, where I'm from."
No, that's pretty spot on. What happens in New Orleans? It's easy to find a drink down there and get lost.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. Oh, there's another crime. You can't have alcohol walking around. You can't just have a beer and walk down the street.
Where in Canada?
Yeah,
That
it
sucks.
sucks.
So you have to
Yeah,
drink inside by yourself. Well, no, you said y'all got
yeah,
breweries and stuff though.
yeah. Well, yeah, we obviously like restaurants are licensed and breweries are licensed, but you can't bring your drink out into the street because there's some places in the States where you can't bring your drink outside. Right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm pretty sure there
But
is because
yeah, but
there's certain parts of Louisiana where they still practice prohibition. They don't sell no
oh
alcohol
wow,
in certain.
wow.
The most states have counties. We have parishes. We're the only state that
Okay.
still has parishes. I think that's some French stuff, but yeah, there's a couple of parishes that don't sell alcohol at all, and then some parishes don't sell alcohol on Sundays too.
That's so wild. You know what? I recently read a kind of like a article. It was like a psychology article because in my mind I was like, it's terrorism, so much crime. Just don't let you have crime drinks on Sundays, and there's no alcohol. But it's like if you're in a free country where you can mindfully leave a parish where there's no alcohol, if you're living there, you're kind of living there for a reason. And if you don't have the ability to like get out of there, like maybe you shouldn't be drinking either. I know that sounds like, because I love drinking. It is my favorite. But I feel like if you're in a town where they're like, we've taken away alcohol entirely, you would either be kind of okay with that or you would be very motivated to leave. And if you were very motivated to leave and you couldn't, I feel like you would have some sort of mental health problem that alcohol wouldn't help. So that's my theory on dry counties.
Yeah, I was just thinking there's a town in Rapides Parish, not Woodsworth, but Forest Hill. They don't allow the sale of alcohol in their town. You have to go outside. But I mean, the closest spot is less than 10 minutes away that sells it right on the border of the town and the next town. So it really don't make no sense to me. But hey, each their own. I guess it's something to do with crime and maybe some religious stuff too.
Well, yeah, I assume it's religious stuff, and I assume it's crime, and it sucks when it sucks when you hear about people like forcing their will upon other people, and that always gives me the heebly-jeeblies, and I'm like, oh, it sounds so terrible, and all those people. But it's kind of like the thing that causes me from absolutely freaking out about this kind of thing is when you boil a frog in water, it doesn't realize it's boiling, you know? So if you're in a town with a bunch of like whack job rules, sometimes you don't even realize you're a frog boiling in the pot. So
I didn't know that. Did not know that if you put
oh,
a
you didn't
pot.
know?
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's like they don't have heat receptors or something like that. And so the frog will obviously like die in boiling water, but it doesn't feel itself boiling until the very end. So it's always made me feel a little bit better emotionally when I see somebody in a town that has too many rules. Sometimes if you're in a situation that is kind of shitty or has too many rules or is not my cup of tea, I'm like, well, that person might not realize that they're in the boiling water pot because they're in it and I'm not. So it's acclimatized to the shitty rules.
Yeah, I do feel that. I do have a question though. What's up with maple syrup?
Yeah.
Because when I Googled Canada today, I seen a whole bunch of stuff about like breakfast on Canada Today, and is maple. I just got a question: is maple syrup that big in Canada?
Yeah, it's like our national symbol. That's why the leaf, like the Canada flag, is a maple leaf, and it's our maple trees, and it's our just like it's in the same way that you have the bald eagle, we've got maple leaves, and it's our signal, symbol, whatever iconography, and that all comes from the East Coast too. There's maple trees in eastern Canada, but there are no maple trees in Calgary where I live. I've honestly only seen a maple tree one time in my life. It's just a very big country. And so that's where the obsession with maple is just a lot of early turn of the century festivals were about making maple syrup. And yeah, that's how it kind of came from with the maple. If you were to Google Calgary and you were to Google what Calgary's two dishes are, number one, we made ginger beef, which is, when you take out Chinese food.
Yeah.
Well, we have a dish in our takeout Chinese food that just happened regionally, and it's called ginger beef, and it's basically just strips of beef that have been deep fried, and it's got this really sticky sweet sauce on it that's almost like a maple syrup. And I one time had a subletter from Chicago stay in my apartment. Actually, this was while I was in New Orleans. So when we met, I had a subletter from Chicago in my apartment, and I get back to my apartment, and there is just boxes and boxes and boxes of Chinese takeout in my fridge. And that shit's expensive. I'm like, cool, there's so much Chinese food in my fridge. I open up, it's just like ginger beef, ginger beef, ginger beef, ginger beef. And I call my subletter, and I was like, why is there like 11 boxes of ginger beef in my fridge? And he was like, well, I heard it was like your regional dish of Calgary, so I wanted to like try it all and see which one was the best, because he's kind of a foodie guy. And I was like, I didn't know that the city of Calgary, Alberta, Canada was famous for Chinese ginger beef. And then he was like, apparently it is. And I was like, well, today I learned something.
That's wild. What is there another dish?
And I got one more. I got one more dish for you. We're famous in Calgary for inventing a drink, and this drink is popular across Canada, but not in the States, and it's called the Caesar. Have you ever heard of a Caesar?
A Caesar? Nuh-uh.
Okay, a Caesar is a Bloody Mary, but the only difference between a Bloody Mary and a Caesar is that a Caesar has clam juice in it also.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, so you're like, hey, this Bloody Mary doesn't have enough clam juice in it. This Bloody Mary isn't fishy enough.
Oh man, I ain't a Bloody Mary fan, so I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like that. I would try it though. I would try it. I ain't gonna put. You always got to try something first before you say you don't like it. So.
I drink Caesars a lot because they're a very common Canadian thing. So I know a lot of Americans are turned off by the fact that you tell them that it has clam juice in it, and they go, I don't want to drink clam juice. But if you're doing a hard day of drinking, there's no savory drinks other than a Bloody Mary. A Bloody Mary is too acidic with the tomato. So you're getting juice in there, you're getting heartburn, right?
Yeah.
So by putting a little bit of a meat in there, by putting clam juice into a Bloody Mary, it basically you're like if you know when you're drunk and you eat a pizza and then you can have another beer.
Yeah.
You're basically drinking a savory food that is kind of compacting down, and you're doing your layer of fat and food at the same time as you're drinking. So you can kind of like, especially in the heat and patio, and like if you're doing a long distance drinking, you're going to start with like a lot of Caesars because it's both hangover cure and alcohol at the same time.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, so that's why they're popular. So it's a breakfast drink. Like you'd wake up in the morning and you'd have a Caesar for breakfast, and like a special for like lots of brunch places. So like a mimosa or a Caesar, and they were invented in my city.
Well, that's cool. I love learning new things. Because we always talk to people from the United States, a lot of people from Louisiana, but it's cool the cultural differences, but how it's similar but a little bit different. I got a question though:
Yeah.
pancakes or waffles with maple syrup?
Ooh, obviously waffles because they've got like the syrup traps in them, right? So that like there's less things are going on. I'm a waffle person for sure.
Is it more like is more Canadians, like in your experience, drawn to waffles versus pancakes?
No, that's another Calgary thing. So my city, Calgary, is world famous for the Calgary Stampede, which is a rodeo that happens, and it's a 10-day rodeo, and it's happening 2 days from now, and this is a big festival we have. And it is one of it's like a big street party, but it's also a rodeo, and it's also the fair, and it's a carnival. It's just a big event, and it's every day for 10 days. Various neighborhoods do a thing called like a pancake breakfast. And so they do free pancake breakfast in all of the neighborhoods around Calgary once per day, and for 10 days for this festival. And everyone dresses as a cowboy, and you all get in line. And because the pancake breakfasts have been popular since like the 70s, they've really what's the word? Like they've really got them down to a science where they've like got these like 5-ton truck trailers that have like big griddles, and they belong to the city. Like the city pays for them, and they big griddles and big vats of pancake batter, and then city volunteers all have cowboy hats, and then they flip you a free pancake breakfast, and they like are pretty generous. You get like an orange juice and a sausage, and they usually have like free entertainment. So it's like you get like trick ropers or like a little petting zoo for the kids, and it's like the pancake breakfast. So I say waffles, but I'm going against the entire cultural identity of my city, which is pancake.
Oh, all right. I'm learning a whole bunch of cool new things this afternoon.
Yeah, honestly, if you put on TSN in the next 3 days, like if you get onto cable and you put on like a sports network or something like that, you'll be getting updates from a rodeo, and because they broadcast it on a lot of like international sports stations. So if you see updates from the rodeo, that's from my hometown.
No, all right. Well,
yeah, because it's like the prize money is like millions of dollars for these people. So.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I can't hold you up too much longer. We're getting to the end of the time segment for this episode.
The episode. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a lovely chat. No. I was like, I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but I know you wanted to talk about Canada and Canada Day. So hopefully I loaded you up with enough information, and I said enough times.
No, it's been great, and a lot of great information, a lot of stuff I had no clue about, and I definitely got to try out that drink one of these days. I might have to make it myself. You might have to send me the recipe. I'll make it down here and just try it, because my Kobai, big shout out Kobai, he is a Bloody Mary fan, so he will love that recipe when I introduce it to him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you are a Bloody Mary fan, you got to see if the clam juice makes or breaks the Bloody Mary, and then report back with the data. Well, Thank you so much. Just because I know I'm on a podcast, I'll tell all your listeners that my name is Victoria Banner, and I have a comedy album on Spotify. So if you look up Victoria Banner on Spotify, I'm probably the only one doing comedy. So if you hear comedy, that's me.
Shit, yeah, I'll make sure. I didn't know that. I'm going to go give you a stream as soon as I'm done with this while I work on the episode.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for calling, and I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh, and make sure to check out Third Coast Podcast on 5000ws.thirdcoastpodcast.com on all major streaming platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. If you are a fan and follow us on Facebook, make sure to subscribe for exclusive content inside the TCP Horde. And I actually do have a little throwback music from Canada, and it is Turbo Snake. So y'all enjoy this great tunes. I'm going to hit y'all with a little bit of words of wisdom. Hold your little ones. Hold them tight. Hold them bambinos tight, because they're only going to be small, and you never know when shit can happen. And just always hold everybody, love everybody, and be true to yourself and true to your goal in life. And for Third Coast Podcast, I'm Joe. What it do, Gators? We love y'all. We out.